Oh gosh. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Ghoulfriend Hour. I'm your host, your ghost host, Morgan Fezza, and tonight we are in for a treat. We have Horror Dadz Productions here with, well, I'm gonna let you guys introduce yourselves. So let's go around in a square and introduce ourselves, and we'll kind of talk to them a little bit about why we're here.
Who's first?
Oh
I
yeah,
will
I
go
forget
first.
everybody's rearranged, so
Yeah,
can't
yeah.
really Brady Bunch it, right?
I was like, hey, my name is Michael Rock. I'm a actor, director, producer, and all around happy guy. I've made a bunch of movies with my partner over here, Dylan Brown, and Dylan, take it away.
Well, I am Dylan Brown, producer, director, writer, sometimes actor, not always loving it, but out of necessity. Um, and just basically doing this thing DIY on the weekends, but I'd say like professionally DIY. That's kind of how I like to describe me and Mike now.
Very nice.
And this is, I think, it's my third time here. Is it my second time here? I think it's
It feels like the third time because we talk, I
yeah,
feel like every day, but yeah,
yeah,
third time or
yeah.
second time.
So some of y'all might know me from the House in Between films. We did two of those films, and I did a lot of paranormal podcasts. But this is the first time I've been privileged to work with some filmmakers outside the documentary world, and I hooked up with Dylan and Michael through Joshua, who's a fantastic filmmaker, The Woodman and some other films. But this has been a joy being, doing a little associate production work on this side, helping these guys out with their upcoming Tahoe Joe 2 film.
Awesome. Awesome. So thank you guys again for being here. I guess we'll just kind of start with backgrounds a little bit. So starting with you, Dylan, how did you get into the film scene? Where did you start? And then, how'd you get here?
Um, it's funny. I think it probably started as a little kid. I'll never forget. There was like two, I think, defining moments that got me really into movies, and one was my parents taking me to see Jurassic Park when I was 7 years old. The movie's still my favorite movie of all time. I've got a big half sleeve tattoo of it. I'm looking at a giant toy collection. It's behind me on the wall there. Um, and that was like my first experience with I think what movies could be, where it's like you get transported to something that feels so realistic and it's not. And but I was just, I mean, my mom said to have a 7-year-old sit completely quiet for 2 hours and not want to go to the bathroom, not ask for popcorn or candy. I was just stock still. I was captivated, right? Um, and
I
then
gotta interrupt you really quick. How many times did you play
yes,
that movie when you were a child?
well, I know that the VCR ate the first tape, and then we had to get another one back back way before there were DVDs. So, however many times it takes to eat a VHS tape, I don't know. um, and then I would say when I was a little bit older, every Halloween, my mom and I would stay up and watch scary movies together late at night, and it's so funny. I think she did it for me. I don't think she loved scary movies, but she liked them enough that she would sit and watch them with me. And my dad is a big movie guy, but he working in medical field, especially trauma, the last thing he wanted to do was sit and watch like gory horror movies because he's like, look, I see this for real every day. Like I don't really get entertainment out of this. But my mom was like, okay, go ahead and put on Friday the 13th. Like we'll sit and watch it. And so I would watch horror movies with her, and like I looked forward to that day all year. Like I wanted that night because we would stay up for hours and watch everything. So I think it's those two reasons why I wanted to get into it. And then life got in the way in school, and I just never really did much except kind of play around with a camera here and there. One day during COVID, I got really bored, and we were on a quarantine, like kind of isolation thing, and the where my wife and I used to live butted up to a desert where there was nothing behind it. And I went out one day with my phone and I made a little Tremors fan film on my iPhone, just messing around. And Bloody Disgusting of all websites came across it somehow on Twitter and did a story on it. And I had all these people like asking me, "How did you do that? It's so cool. What did you do?" Well, and I guess I just was like, "Well, that was easy." And so I went and got a camera and started shooting, and now shoot, Mike, what are we, like 6 features in? And that's
Yeah,
pretty
something.
much it.
Yeah.
Started around COVID and it never stopped for me. So
And just for those who might not know that are watching this, Bloody Disgusting is a huge platform. They're into
Yeah.
a massive
Yeah.
platform, so that's pretty cool.
That's really
yeah,
neat.
it went from like a guy who would get like super excited when I got 50 views on YouTube. I'm like, yes, to like all of a sudden I had like, 5,000. And then the next minute there was 10,000. I'm like, what is happening? I got all these messages.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, it was cool. It definitely created a little bit of an ego that was then immediately put into check when I did my first movie. That was a kick in the you know what. But hey, it is what it is. And then I met Mike, and I think his story started not too far from where I'm going to finish off mine. So
Well, if you don't mind, I'm just going to say something really, really quick. So my daughter is going through her Jurassic Park phase, but with Tremors. So we are a huge Tremors household. So if you have that video anywhere, I would love to see it, and I would love to show it to her because she is like 1 and 2, 1 and 2. Those are her like picks, and it's morning, noon, and night.
well, I will absolutely. It's on my YouTube channel, so I will get it to you.
Sweet, sweet. Now we'll move on to Mike. Tell us how you got into it.
Yeah. All right. So, man. So basically I needed something to balance me out from my real life job. And so for a while I was running these military special operations based endurance events. But because of my injuries while I was in the military, I medically retired 100%. My body was just breaking down on me too much. So I had to retire from that. My body couldn't take it anymore. And so my real world job, I help take down pedophiles. And so my job is I do forensics in child sexual exploitation cases. So all day at work, I have to see the worst of the worst that humanity has to offer as far as child exploitation. And so in order to save myself, I needed something completely different from that, And so when I retired from doing those endurance events, I needed something else. So I was like, you know what? Let me try acting. And so real quick, I went online, I went on Facebook, and I saw that there was an audition for a sarcastic cop in a play in Virginia City, Nevada. And I was like, well, shoot, I'm kind of that in real life. So we'll go do this. Let me go try this. If I don't get this, maybe acting isn't for me. And so I went and I auditioned for the part. I didn't get that part. I actually got the male lead in that play.
Wow.
And I really enjoyed doing plays. And so I did 3 plays after that. So the first play I did, I was an owner of a speakeasy, and I was also a womanizer and a woman abuser. The second play I did, I was Bob Cratchit singing Christmas songs with Tiny Tim on my shoulder.
I love
And
it.
then my final play, I was a male burlesque dancer.
Ooh la la.
It's like I ran the gamut there. But the thing is, doing the plays, it took a lot of time out of my personal life. So I was like, shoot, and I have 3 kids. I was a single dad and stuff. I was like, man, it's taking a lot of time because 3 days a week, I'd have to go and give 4 hours of my day to do these plays and rehearse while I'm, still doing a full-time job and trying to have a household. So I was like, man, you know what? I need to stop doing this. Let me go try movies. And then so again, I went on a group on Facebook and I saw that they were auditioning for the role of a mercenary in the film The Flock. At the time, it was called The Devil's Lambs. And I was like, well, I was pretty much a mercenary while I was in the army. So let me go try that again. If I don't get this role, maybe acting's not for me. And so I went to the audition, I nailed it. And that's where I met Dylan. And him and I became buddies, since then, and it's taken off, him and I, we worked together so well on The Flock that he asked me to come back and be part of Tahoe Joe with him. And
Wow.
And the experience of making Tahoe Joe with Dylan was completely different for both of us than it was on The Flock. Like we didn't have to worry about any drama, any whiny kids or anything like that. We just went out, just some bros hanging out in the woods and having a good time. So we were like, you know what? Let's keep doing this. And so here we are.
I love it. And thank you so much for your service. You know, that's a hard job to do, but it is so needed. So thank
Thank you.
you from the bottom of my heart, from the bottom of our hearts. I think I can safely say on anybody that's watching or listening to this, we all thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank
Well,
you.
the interesting coincidence there is that I didn't know that that's what Mike did right away. I didn't know that that was. I knew he was a former Green Beret, but I didn't know that he was in the child exploitation thing. What do I do about the third or fourth time meeting Mike? I'm like, hey, we're gonna do a scene where you're gonna shoot a pedophile, and I'm gonna play the pedophile. And so Mike's like choreographing this fight, whipping my ass, and I just remember being like, "Man, this guy really wants to give this guy like a bad deal here. He wants to beat his face in with his knee." And then I find out what he actually does, and I'm like, "Well, that was the interesting serendipity there, how that worked out."
Yeah,
He was doing it a little too well, a little too well.
Oh man, my first speaking role in a movie, I put myself in there as a child predator that gets killed by Mike. So
And Morgan, one of the interesting things that really intrigued me about these guys is the film is predominantly all veterans.
I loved that. When you told
Yeah.
me that, I was blown away. And I just, so my grandparents raised me and my grandfather's a Vietnam veteran. So I have such a deep respect for the military and for the men and women that serve our country because, what you guys do, it's not an easy job. And there's so many big sacrifices, the ultimate sacrifice that a lot of people make that just, I feel like, are not acknowledged enough. So if I can be one person that can at least acknowledge that and tell you how grateful we are for your service, I want to be able to do that. And I think it's really neat that it's all veterans.
So it's people like you and your family that made it all worth it. I could safely say for probably Michael as well. And Dylan, served with the Army, not so much as an Army person, but Dylan, correct me if I'm wrong, but you've been around and worked with Army people for years, right?
yeah, so I'm in like a unique situation. It's all civilian, side, but it's not a contractor either. Like I'm actually employed by the Army and Department of Defense as a civilian employee. So it's cool because I do get to see everything that goes, how a base runs and all that stuff. But yeah, I took a different route out of high school. Let's see, I graduated in 2004, so things were pretty heavy, after 9/11 and stuff. And a lot of my friends were going in, and I remember there was a time when I had a couple of conversations about would that be something I would do. And I had the the kind of come to Jesus speech with myself that you might think it sounds cool because your buddies are doing it, but I had to learn that I was not cut out for that type of a thing. It would have been a danger to anybody for me to be there. To myself, it's not the cloth I'm cut from. But it is nice to work in that field now, and kind of get to work alongside people that did serve or those that still serve, and then other civilians like myself who just maybe we weren't cut out for the fighting side, but we can maybe go in on the logistics side and do what we do, which is it's a very interesting job. It's sobering and it's a little frustrating at times when you're seeing how the United States government works with taxpayer money. I think we all agree with that. But it is interesting, and that's why. So when we did the flock, at the time, I didn't realize there was quite a few veterans in there, but I think we had like a Navy guy, we had Mike, we had some like some reserve guys and stuff. And I thought, well, this is like a really cool idea. So when we did Tahoe Joe, Mike went and got his buddy Shane, who was a former Marine, and then his cousin Thomas Smith, Thomas Air Force, right, Mike?
Yeah.
Yeah. So then it was like, this is awesome. Like we have Marine, we have Air Force, we have Green Beret, all in this movie. And I thought, well, this is such a cool thing. Like, I wonder how many movies are out there where they go and give roles to guys who were former service members, but they don't necessarily bring them out. Like we didn't use Toma or Shane in those roles. We really only brought up Mike's past for the role. And so we found out there was a lot of people that like that stuff. And so when we did our next film, Ghost, Mike and I spent a lot of time trying to get a lot of representation in Ghost. And we started to expand too. We started to do like first responders. So we have firefighters and paramedics and sheriffs. And I think there was a couple of XPD guys in Ghost that came in. And it's so much fun. And I'll say, you want people to show up on time on a movie set, go hire military people or first responders, because they are on time and they do not bail out. Mike and I've had plenty of times when we're making films and we're worrying at the last moment, like, is the actor going to show up or not? You don't have to worry about that with servicemen and women. They are 10 minutes early if they're not, late. So
They keep their word, man. I will say that. They keep their word.
The Flock had a big issue with that. Just no matter what time these people are told, it's always, oh, hey, I'm going to be late. Every single time. So, and I'm always early. So I'm sitting there waiting like an extra hour for these people,
I don't blame them. I guess I should thank some of them for being late all the time, because it actually gave Mike and I so much time to start bonding, because we were always waiting on actors. That I think Mike ended up getting a lot more work in film because we had time to talk, and people that showed up late, I got what I needed and then said, okay, well, we got to go. We're wrapping for the day. So I guess it kind of worked out as it was supposed to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have to ask the big question in the room here. Do you guys believe in Bigfoot?
My favorite question to answer. I'll let Mike give you his thoughts.
I do not.
Okay.
I do not believe in Bigfoot. If this was 20 years ago, 25 years ago, I would more likely say yes.
Okay.
But with technology out there now, and as much people are out there exploring in the world and stuff like that, like when a picture comes out, bro, it's still grainy. Come on.
Yeah. I was literally gonna say that. I'm like, we can get clear pictures of Mars, but we can't get decent pictures of Bigfoot.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like taking a
Bigfoot's
picture of a bank robber or
actually
something.
blurry.
It's like, what the hell, dude? Yeah, it's so. Am I saying there's no chance that that he doesn't exist? No. He could very well may exist. But I don't believe that Bigfoot or Sasquatch or whatever does. Abominable snowman, whatever. I don't know.
And I'm at like 20%. I'm at like 20%, I believe, and 80% probably not. I just like what Mike was saying. I mean, with infrared capabilities and heat signatures, we don't get that. Well, where's the skeletons? I mean, when I'm in the woods, I find other animal skeletons. It's just tough nowadays. Like you were saying, we could send rovers to Mars and take pictures of other galaxies now. We can't get a clear picture of a 7-foot black, monster, two-legged beast. It's just it's just tougher to believe it. Mike brings up a great point with as we advance in technology, it gets even harder to believe it. But I'm about 15-20%. It might be possible, but not probable.
Okay.
So
Exactly. Yeah. I'm not 100% against it. So possibilities there, but
yep. I think
not enough evidence.
I think me and Mike are right on the same exact page with it, honestly.
Yeah.
I'm pretty much there too. With the whole drone or something probably would have caught better footage, right? But I have this weird thing where I tell people, no, I don't believe that there's one out there, but I so badly want there to be one out there. So I don't necessarily say that like I would believe, but I can say that I yearn for somebody to get that clear photo because I want there to be a Bigfoot. I think that if it could ever be proven, it would be like the most exciting thing in the world that it is there, and I'd be so excited. But I'm also terrified that the minute somebody finds it, the minute everybody's going to flood the woods and it's just going to be awful, which is actually the basis of the plot of Tahoe Joe 2. Pretty much what Mike and I wanted to do there. You like that segue? It's like I'm good at this,
Yeah,
I love the segues. Nice. You're making my job easy.
Yeah, let's look right in there.
And
But
that's kind of why I
I have
asked the question though, is because I wanna get
yes.
a little bit of backstory to how Tahoe Joe became. Because if we're not so much of a believer, then why Tahoe Joe? Like, why did he become who he is? And
So this is the interesting thing about Tahoe Joe. Um, a lot of it was born out of mistake, and I'll explain. And not just by myself, but actually by a lot of locals here too. So Tahoe Joe is a real person. There was some conflict, I believe, between California and Nevada over territorial rights, and there was some kind of a Civil War era style battling going on. And I wish I could remember what it was, but it was kind of up in the area where the Donner Party incident happened, which isn't that far from us. And there was this guy everybody referred to as Tahoe Joe, and the story goes that he was like a mountain man, and he would basically run in and he was like stealing from different warring faction encampments and selling the enemy stuff to their enemies and then stealing from them and selling back. And he was this amazing con artist that was living out in the woods. And that's like one story. But it was a guy. It was like a guy that went kind of wild out there, this mountain man. And somehow, it's like in the 70s or 80s, there was a Bigfoot sighting up by Lake Tahoe. There was some construction going on. I don't know if it was one of the big casinos or what, but a bunch of construction workers swore that they saw this big hairy figure walk out through their construction site and was like high stepping massive logs that no man could ever step over. And then it walked off at this incredible speed. And they labeled this Bigfoot as Tahoe Joe. And so then people started getting the mistake of the real guy, and then Bigfoot kind of molded into one story that Tahoe Joe has always been this thing. And I'm like, well, not really. I think he's really only been like a myth since like the 80s or maybe even the 90s. But it's not widely known that that's what they call him either. It's like you talk to half the people in Reno, they'll say, "Oh, I've heard of that myth." You know, other people are like, "Tahoe Joe, you mean the steakhouse in California?" Because it's a restaurant chain too. And so I just was fascinated with Bigfoot movies in general because I like watching them. I loved Harry and the Hendersons growing up. And then I had seen The Legend of Boggy Creek, which is like one of those classic 70s, pieces of cinema. That was like the first really well done fake documentary. And it was by Charles Pierce, who also did The Sound That Dreaded Sundown, is also kind of a
that's such a
faux
good
documentary.
movie. That's one of my
Oh, it's so good.
favorites.
It's terrifying too. It freaks me out. And it was his film that gave me that idea of, wow, if you don't have a ton of money and you don't really want to show your Bigfoot much, what better way to do it than like a fake documentary where you're only seeing him from, footage that people caught. So I had the idea brewing for a long time. I just didn't know how the heck to do it. And I approached Mike after the flock and I was like, hey, I got this idea. Would you want to come aboard? And I was like, it's a Bigfoot movie. And Mike's face was like, yeah, sure, Bigfoot. That sounds so fun. And I could tell there was some
So
apprehension.
it wasn't like a Step Brothers moment. You're like, do we just become best friends?
No, I think it was I'm going to help you out because I like you, but I'm afraid this is going to suck moment is what I think was going on.
Pretty much.
That's funny.
And then I told him, I said, well, I got this like very specific look I'm going to go for. So here's my favorite thing about Mike. Well, one of my many. Mike makes a lot of movies, but Mike doesn't watch a lot of movies. He's not a big movie guy. So if I bring up The Legend of Boggy Creek or Charles Pierce, Mike's always like, cool, never heard of it. That doesn't mean anything to me. So I had said like, well, I have this very specific kind of idea and this look I want to do. And I'm like, just bear with me. So I shot the opening of the movie and I cut it together, and I basically everything that you see in the original Tahoe Joe, how it opens the first, I don't know, what is it, Mike? The first 3 minutes, maybe?
Yeah, 2.5 minutes, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I shot it and I sent it over to him. I'm like, hey, this is kind of the vibe I'm going for. And he writes me back and he's like, whoa, like this is actually really cool. Like now I kind of see where you're going with this, and this is not going to have like that cheese ball factor to it. And then really the rest was history because he got so on board. Mike started throwing out all these ideas, and it got to the point where I'm like, why do I need to be the director on this? I have another guy who's basically acting like a director too. So I asked him, I'm like, do you just want to co-direct this with me? It'd be a lot easier on me. You're coming up with, people to bring into this film. You're filming a lot of your own stuff for me because he was all over the country working. And I just thought, I'm not the only director here. Mike is literally directing parts of this movie. So I asked him to join, and he's like, yeah. And then I think the bug bit him, and we just haven't looked back.
Awesome. Awesome. So, one of the biggest questions too that I wanted to ask is while filming, did you guys like have, I'm sure you did have challenges, but what were some of your biggest challenges while filming?
You got one, Mike? Or
For Tahoe Joe 2 and for Ghost, really the only biggest challenges was the unpredictable weather of the Reno Tahoe area. So we were stressed out about that for a little bit. If the weather turned really bad, like we stressed out, but we didn't stress out that much because we work so well together and we're so thrifty with what we do and improvising, coming up with stuff on a spot. Like we know we would have made it work anyway. But shots that we want, the certain things that we really, really wanted, those were at risk of being canceled because of weather. So aside from that, I can't really think of any big challenges.
I mean, that's good though.
Absolutely. And I think that's when Mike and I realized we worked so well together too. There was a lot of challenges in the first few films I did. And then when we got together to do Tahoe Joe, it was like everything was so fluid. It was so smooth. It basically flowed so easily. And we were just talking about this, actually. It was one of the nights Mike and I went to go film a couple of pickup shots for Tahoe Joe 2 to finish it off. We were taking a break. We were gassed. I'm trying to keep up with Mike running up the mountain after we both worked 10-hour shifts. And then we're running up at night. We drove up the mountain to go film in the snow. And we're taking a break, and we're talking about how some of these other films and other filmmakers in the community, it's like they'll raise big, massive chunks of money. And I watch the film and I'm like, where did all that money go? It just doesn't look, I'm trying to figure out where did it all go. And we started thinking, and Mike brought it up. He said, look, he's like, as a Green Beret, he goes, I'm probably going to be in the worst of the worst situation. And I have to learn like how to improvise and make do with what I have. And then with my job, I work and teach like Lean Six Sigma business and root cause analysis for Army business stuff. And my job is literally like how to allocate money in the safest way possible, and to make sure that we have all these cost avoidances with the Army. And so I think that two mindsets that we have come together for filmmaking, where we go, this is how much we have. We just have to make this work. And so for us, it was like, we'd be filming a perfect example in the first Tahoe Joe movie. We were going to have these epic drone shots. We get up on the hill and the drone crashes and breaks and just stops working. And so we're like, great. There was a lot of the movie that actually hinged on this. So what did we do? On the fly, we're like, hey, we're already with a guy who's a government conspiracy theorist. Let's have Shane throw out some line about government jammers blocking signals and stuff. That's why the drone stopped working. Boom, we threw that in the story. There we go, fixed, and then we rolled with it. And that's pretty much how Mike and I work. We just, on the fly, we come up with a reason for something, and then we just go with it.
Smooth as butter. I like it. Okay.
Yeah, and that's the big thing. So what we do is the decisions that we make in a movie, like we stop and we think about it, multiple times to make sure everything makes sense, right?
Yeah.
So like in Tahoe Joe, I had to have a reason why a guy like me wouldn't take a gun to go find Bigfoot. And so that's why you had Shane say, hey, if you're taking a gun, I'm not taking you out there. So I was like, crap, okay.
Are we gonna see like an epic like hand-to-hand combat battle between Mike and Tahoe Joe? Can you tell us that? Is that a
So I can tell you that that Tahoe Joe and someone have some pretty close encounter moments in Tahoe Joe too, but it's not hand-to-hand combat, and those who do get too close to him don't come out very well in this second movie.
I thought we were gonna see like Mike just body slam him, just one of those, just
Well,
flip the
I will
script on
say-
Tahoe Joe a little bit.
if you want to see Mike fight somebody, there's a good chance you're going to be pretty excited in Tahoe Joe too. It just may not be who you're expecting.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay,
Spoiler, I do have some fun in Tahoe Joe too.
okay. Okay, I'm excited. Now, I kind of want to explore a little bit. So Brad, kind of tell me your role in, Tahoe Joe. Were you Tahoe Joe, the original?
No, I was
Just
part
two.
And that,
Okay.
my basically my role is not a massive role, but it's fairly important to help out, to get eyes on the trailer and get, once the film comes out, to get eyes on the, on the streaming, where you
Yeah.
purchase it and things like that. I have a lot of connections in media. I've accrued a lot of contacts through my time doing the House Between films. So
Cool.
helping out Dylan and Mike to get as many people to see it. Like, I just checked while you guys were talking, the trailer. My friend Kim has a TikTok account, and it's a really big one, but we have like 86,000 views for the trailer.
Oh,
Sweet.
even more than last time. So
Yeah.
that's what's so big for guys like Mike and I. I think so many times people forget that, they might look at a movie and say, oh, that's really low budget, but they got to remember that a lot of the budget, some of the, or many of those people are saving for that back end marketing to even get the film out there. That's the hardest part, is getting eyes on stuff.
That's right.
I think anybody, and Morgan, I'm sure you know too, and Brad, it's like anybody that works in a creative world, getting people to watch your stuff or to listen or read or whatever, it's the hardest thing ever. It's like everybody says they will, and then as soon as it comes down to it, there's always an excuse, and I haven't had time yet. And so reaching the masses, it's like the biggest thing. And so when Brad and I were speaking, and he said, I actually, and I knew The House in Between. I mean, I knew that movie was like a big success. And so he's like, look, I've been in this world enough that I kind of know how things work. And I'm like, man, if you can help us get eyes on it, that'd be huge. And he already came through there, and now we're here on this podcast because of Brad. So I'd say we love Brad as our marketing guy. This is working out great.
And I got my guy Phil from the band Skid Row is going to do a little video plug for the film too.
Sweet.
So look out for that.
Jeez.
We'll need
Skid
him
Row.
we're gonna need him for Ghost too, because that's our '80s nostalgia trip movie. So
Yeah, man. But I'm having a lot of fun. For me, it's been a breath of fresh air because I've been in the documentary world. 2020, Morgan, 2020, The House in Between Part 1 came out, and then that was a whirlwind. It was much bigger than we even anticipated. Then Part 2 came out, so I was locked up in the documentary world again for another couple of years. So now, since those two films are done, and I was kind of looking for something new to do, but within the film world, because I do enjoy it as well. So this is a perfect fit for me to help these guys out. Because let me tell you something, these guys, they may not have 20-year Hollywood resumes, but the freaking acting in Part 1, when I first saw it, when Dylan sent me the link for it, I was like, holy crap, man, this is like really freaking good acting. It's not like some cheesy, $500 budget film where they just got the local Waffle House guy to come in there and try to, throw some lines down. This acting was fantastic, man. It was like really freaking good. That got me even more excited to be part of it, So that's kind of what my role is, for this Part 2 film. Pretty
Listen,
excited.
marketing is a full-time job. That is where I came from. Prior to leaving my position to stay home with my daughter, I was in marketing as a marketing specialist, and now I'm doing more affiliate marketing stuff. But, I had a conversation with a client the other day, and I said, marketing, when you really get down to the meat and bones of it, you have to be in 90-95%, because if you even slip a little bit in today's algorithm, this isn't, like early 2000s where when you're posting stuff, you're coming home to 25 friend requests, 1,000 notifications, 1 million views. Like, there's a lot of competition. There's a lot of saturation kind of going on. And I think a lot of the times people don't want to pick through and find the gold. And so I was really excited when you told me about these guys. And then Dylan, when you sent me the trailer, I loved like that just like dark blue snowy hue that you had going on, and just I like when you watch a trailer and it doesn't give too much away, but it gives you just enough that it pulls you in and you feel like you're there, like you said with Jurassic Park. Um, and watching that trailer, that initial vibe that I got, I was like, okay, like this is gonna be a hit. This is great. So I just was so excited, that you guys are gonna be putting this out there. And I think people are just gonna fall in love with it.
And that Bigfoot looks sick, man. The Bigfoot looks really real, really good.
Yeah, we the first film we did, it was like a whole DIY. Literally built a Bigfoot in my garage with a ghillie suit and repurposed a bunch of stuff, and it was so hilariously bad that when I had Mike try it on, I was like, "Well, it looks like we're filming this at night. He can never be seen in the daytime. This is terrifying."
We'll
But
get
it
some of those
worked.
blurry pictures of Bigfoot again. Make
Yeah,
that
Yeah, yeah.
That's why he's blurry, because he looks like shit.
You just need pixels, heavily pixelated.
Right.
So we definitely, when we wanted to come back and do a sequel, it was like, okay, the first priority was like we've got to make sure we get like this upgraded Bigfoot suit and stuff. And we had a very kind of a rare thing happen that doesn't really happen much. And our distributor for the first movie basically said, I love what you guys did on this first movie. I'm going to front you your payments early so you can fund the sequel. And that never happens. I mean, these guys, these aggregators and stuff, they don't do anything like that. And he was willing to basically say, like, I will give you your first 2 quarters now, and just hope that I recoup my funds at some point, and we'll hope in the movie, because I want you guys to make the movie you want to make. And we still had to be very thrifty. I started looking into creature concepts, and I'm like, hey, maybe I'll like hit up one of these guys and see what it costs. And I'm getting quotes for like $28,000, $80,000 for a suit, and I'm like, a furry Chewbacca suit that's pretty well made and a really badass mask from Immortal Mask will cost about $2,500. I think we'll go that route. And
A little spray paint, little Elmer's glue, can doctor
yeah,
this up,
right?
right?
And we ended up making a really rad looking Bigfoot in this one. But we still were careful, we made sure that what we showed of Joe was lit, correctly. And one of the things that we had a lot of fun with in the first movie was when all the crazy stuff starts happening and it's pitch black, my character takes a wrong turn like an idiot, and I have no flashlight, and I flip the camera into night vision mode, and that kind of helped us mask how bad the suit looked. But it also ended up being a part in the movie where everybody loved when the film went that direction. So we brought the night vision back for the sequel. And so when you have a cooler looking Bigfoot, but it's all shot in this night vision hue, it's really cool. And I always say this after every movie, like, oh, it's my favorite thing I've done. And I think that's the goal, obviously. But I will say Tahoe Joe 2 to me is just something special. Mike and I had like the easiest production that could have ever happened, I think, making the movie. It was so seamless. And we shot it. What do you think, Mike? Like 90% of it was shot in chronological order, right? I don't think much had to go back.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, so we pretty much shot it in order, which is also kind of how it helps us to deal with those weather things. We were sweating if we were going to have snow, and we had shot a part of the film in the snow. The day that we were supposed to go shoot, we're looking and there's no snow. There's no snow. It's hot in Reno for this time of year, and we're like freaking out. What do we do if we get up there and there's now no snow? So Mike and I are running through like a million scenarios. Then it decides to snow like 2 days before, and not just snow, but it decided to snow so much that we almost couldn't go film.
Yeah.
So then we're trying to figure out, what are we going to do if we can't even get to our shooting location, because now we have too much. And then everything just worked out perfectly. It warmed up exactly how we needed it the day we filmed, and it just worked perfect. And I would say watching this one, it's like my favorite thing we've done so far.
Oh,
Yeah,
that makes me so excited.
yeah.
I seriously cannot wait because I think that like I said, the trailer, it gives you the chills. It does. There's just something, and like you said with the night vision, as a almost 30-year-old woman who is still terrified of the dark, I am not a dark person. Night vision and not being able to see what's hunting you that's terrifying. So I think it's going to really it's gonna get people.
I totally, so when Mike and I had first talked about doing it, I don't actually have night vision mode on the camera that I use. So I had to fake it with filters, and then I did some essentially I pulled all the reds and blues out of it, so all I had left was greens and whites, and it worked out perfect. But a lot of pretty much all night vision cameras, they don't shoot in green. That's not like an actual thing. But I saw, well, one of my favorite movies of all time is The Silence of the Lambs, and they did that with the Buffalo Bill stuff. And I'm like, you know what? This looks so creepy. I'm just gonna roll with it. And like I'm sure there'll be somebody that'll call it out, and they did in the first movie. It's like you didn't shoot in night vision. It doesn't actually shoot in green. It's white and black. And I'm like, well, screw it. It looks really cool. And you know what? They're getting a lot of green in the second one because I'm in night vision mode a lot in that movie.
I'm excited. I really am. I'm super excited. And so I want to like ask, how long has this taken from, beginning to end to shoot, edit, get everything kind of together? And then what is the release date so we can tell our listeners?
Um, so I'll answer backwards first. I'll let Mike take on the shooting stuff. As far as the release date, um, we don't have one picked yet because it hasn't even been signed to distribution yet. The
Okay.
main thing is I have a huge announcement. Mike and I both do about where the first place Tahoe Joe will be showing. We just unfortunately can't contractually say it for about 2 weeks because
Understandable.
there will be a big press release that's coming out that'll actually have the announcement on where it's going. And so once that event is done, we will be, I'd say around April, we'll have a chance to start shopping it where we're going to shop it. We are probably going to go with our distributor who we went with first, just because, I mean, a distributor willing to front you money. It's like, why not go back with that guy? And so, we'll probably start talking with him about what we want to do. But the goal is, I'm thinking I'd like to have the movie starting to pop up in some places by like May or June. Bigfoot stuff does well in the spring and summer. So,
Okay. All right.
as far as the timeline, Mike, do you remember when we started exactly?
Yeah, so I actually think, unless I'm mistaken, the very first thing we shot was my opening monologue. And that
Yes.
was around that was like October 20th
Okay.
of 2023. Yeah, like I had an idea for the opening monologue, filmed it, sent it to Dylan. He liked it, and then we just rolled from there. And we'd go back and forth the messaging, collaborate, and stuff like that. And we'd get little bits and pieces sent to us. And once some snow hit, we recorded some stuff there. Yeah, so we just
Yeah, I think we met with the girls to do the influencer stuff. Gosh, like in December, maybe.
yeah, I want to say like mid-December. I want to say
Yeah, so we
mid-December.
shot their big sequence, and then January 13th was our big day where we filmed most of the film. And this is insane, but we finished filming on January 13th, and we had a cut ready by January 31st to get to a film festival that we were trying to get to. So we started October 20th, and the entire movie was shot, edited, and ready by January 31st, which
Okay.
is unbelievably fast, I think, in terms of
Yeah.
how filmmaking goes.
I was expecting a much longer timeline, so I'm like, wow, it really did go so seamlessly.
Yeah, see, one thing with our movies is if it's a horror nerd production thing, where Dylan's taking the helm and he's doing most of the filming, he's editing all along the way. Instead of like most filmmakers, they'll film everything and stuff like that, and they'll sit and wait and wait and wait, and then take their time and edit it. We'll film something and then boom, like as soon as Dylan gets back to his house, he's already on there editing stuff. So it
Yeah,
I'm
we
sure
just
it's very
don't-
so
exciting.
much time, and then it makes up for it really saves us too, because if something doesn't look right, well, a whole bunch of time hasn't passed. So now we can go and reshoot something if needed and stuff like that. So
Yeah, I mean, the main thing when we started Horror Dads, so like I originally started Horror Nerd here in Reno when I was by myself, and then we joined with Josh Brucker and Hunter Nino and Mike got involved, and we did the Horror Dads thing because we're all dads, and we started thinking that we we don't have a lot of time to do filmmaking. So when we do have time, like we need to move quick if we want to get stuff done. We just need to get down to the nitty gritty and go. And so when we did the very first Tahoe Joe, I was actually kind of doing like a live edit. There was time when I was waiting for it to get a little bit darker. And so Mike and Shane and I were hanging out in the woods, and my camera, the one I was using at the time's got Wi-Fi and stuff. And I'm just sending clips that I think are the best ones to drop them in to where they need to go. And I'm just like straight up kind of editing as we are finishing the film out there from the woods. And it was the coolest thing because I could see it play out chronologically. And we didn't do that so really with the second one because I got so good at what I was doing that. Well, and the other thing was trust. Mike pretty much knew like what my style was, so we didn't have to have those long conversations of how are you going to edit this or how are you going to edit that. Mike would just basically say like, I know that you're going to go home and edit, so like, let's just film. And he wasn't. I think a lot of actors sometimes they start questioning, is this good enough? Does this look good? And Mike's just like, look, give me 2 takes or whatever. He feels it if it's good. I'm gonna tell him, hey, it looked good on camera, and we just trust each other that we got what we need. And then we just I go home, I say, hey, here's the best one, throw it in, send it to Mike. Does this look good? Yeah, I like that. Boom, okay, our next scene. It's that easy for us.
yeah. Yeah,
But
one of
that's what
the-
good chemistry does. I mean, I
Yeah.
think that one of the biggest things in cinema that sometimes people tend to get wrong is they force groups of people together, and it doesn't work because chemistry you need that. It's essential. It's vital to like a good film. So, I mean, that's fantastic that you guys have found that this early on.
Yeah, we trust each other, and it turns out, we have a lot of the same brain, a lot of the same filmmaker brain.
All
Like
the time.
there's so many times where like we'll look at each other and we'll just know that we're thinking about the same thing. Or I'll say something and then he'll be like, dude, I was just writing you that, or vice versa, And so it makes it so much easier and so much more fun, making these movies. So we take big pride on that. We also take big pride on our small budgets, because like he said, you have these filmmakers who spend all this money making these movies, and like we take pride. So aside from like Dylan's camera equipment and stuff that I already had, Tahoe Joe 1 was like $800. And I remember I was being interviewed for a film festival that Tahoe Joe got in. And when that guy asked how much money Tahoe Joe cost, and I told him, he was like, dude, wait, what? What the hell? Because that was the lowest budgeted movie that he's ever had in that film festival, and it made the film festival. So we take great pride in doing all that stuff. Instead of taking a bunch of money and just throwing it out there, we're super thrifty. We're making our own stuff. We're making amazing connections with people. For Tahoe Joe 2, we have a great location that instead of dishing out a whole bunch of money, somebody that Dylan and I worked with was like, hey, I have this great location. Here you go.
That's
Yeah.
always
So
neat.
we get so much accomplished because of that. And so a lot of our stuff looks like it costs so much more money than it really did.
I want to just jump in real quick because that reminds me of a podcast that I did with a drummer from the rock band Quiet Riot. Have you guys heard of that band? Quiet Riot.
Yeah.
Really popular band back in the 80s and 90s.
I met the lead singer when I was a little girl and I had no
Kevin
idea.
DeBro? That's great. So Frankie Benali is a drummer, and he was on my show 3 or 4 times. Really good guy. God rest his soul. He passed away from cancer a few years ago. But he was telling me on my show one time I don't know if y'all remember what the record cover looked like for Metal Health, their first record that went like huge, like Come On Feel the Noise, like they're really popular songs were on that record. but it was of a guy wearing one of those masks that they put on
Like the
insane
Hannibal
people.
Lecter.
Yeah, and in the straitjacket.
Yep.
If you look at that cover, and Dylan, this is why I'm bringing this up, is because how you make things work on little bit of money. This Frankie told me this story. The cover of that, in the background, you'll see it looks like a little like a cell that would put an insane patient in so they won't hurt themselves. You know what I mean? Well, that was actually filmed inside of a U-Haul trailer. You know how they have the padding on the U-Haul trailers for like.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so that's actually the film cover. They used it inside of a U-Haul.
I would never
trailer.
have known that.
Because they were broke.
That's awesome.
They signed a deal. They signed the record deal, but they didn't get any money for it yet. So they had to put this record out real quick, and they didn't have any real money yet. So that's what they did. So that's pretty cool.
I
Look
love
at that. That was one of the biggest records. That was
yeah,
solid album, man.
absolutely.
I think that's so great. I've heard some even like the big massive mega buster movies have to get thrifty sometimes, and I know that I swear to God I find a way to talk about Jurassic Park anytime I can, but when they needed the water to ripple when the T-Rex is walking by, they could not figure out how to get it to look good digitally. Because they had great effects, and it's like they could do all these cool dinosaurs, but they said the water never looked right. And Spielberg was like, absolutely not. This looks terrible. So one guy was sitting at home at night trying to figure out what to do, and he put a glass of water on his acoustic guitar and strummed the string, and it made the perfect vibration. So they actually installed the guitar string underneath the dash of the car. Wow. And the guy was underneath the hollowed out car plucking it to make the vibrations in the glass.
Wow.
Yeah. And awesome. So I think, again, that's why that movie and my obsession with stuff, I have a feeling it's like another deep-seated thing that's somewhere in here that wants to, to do that. And then Mike just being so, in Ghost, we needed one of those snares that they used to catch like wild dogs with. So of course, I'm like looking online and I'm like, damn, this is expensive for like something for one scene. Nope. Mike goes and gets some PVC pipe and some rope and some duct tape and makes us the snare. And when you watch it in the movie, you would never know that it was a made up one.
Love it.
So it's just stuff like that we're willing to do. And I think a lot of other people have a wine taste on a beer budget when they make their movies. And that's what hurts so many times. And I'm just like, you know what? Hey, we got what we got. That's it. And let's make the best of it. And sometimes I bite off more than I can chew. I think there were times making Ghost even that Mike might have been a bit of like, you sure you're gonna be able to pull that off? And I'm like, yeah, I think. And then we'd get there and I'd be like, hey, maybe we got to dial that back a little bit. I don't know. But I mean, in Ghost, we got a live rattlesnake on the shoot that Mike actually picks up, which is cool. We had
wait,
Vernon
I gotta
Wells.
pause you. How in the hell did you get a live rattlesnake? And Mike, why did you pick it up?
Snakes
I
don't
have
bite
to
me.
know.
I bite snakes.
It's a Green Beret thing, I guess.
That's right. Snake eater. That's our nickname. Snake eaters. Yeah.
Oh my
no,
gosh.
we had a guy, a local guy. He's actually been in a ton of movies lately. His name's John Potash. He's been all over the place in the indie world, and he wanted to be a part of the project, and I was super happy to have him. And it just so happened that he's an animal handler, and he's like, "Hey, I got this rattlesnake named Tyrion, and he's pretty easy to handle, but he looks great on film. I can bring him if you guys want to use a scene with a snake." And I'm like, Mike, what can we write real quick? They'd be awesome to use with a rattlesnake. So we come up with this really great torture scene where Mike's got this cultist type guy, and he's got him in a chair beating his ass, and the guy says some pretty mean things to him. And so Mike looks over at this rattlesnake that's in a cage, and he says, "I got an idea." And he grabs the snake and he puts it in a pillowcase and shoves it over the guy's head, and we leave him there for the snake. And so that's how Mike got to pick the snake up. And that was a interesting shoot because it was basically like Mike's like, "Can I pick it up?" And the guy's like, "If he'll let you." And I'm just like, you know what? I'm going to roll footage, and whatever we get, we get. Thankfully, it worked out. So we got that. We got Vernon Wells in that movie Ghost. Vernon was the bad guy in Commando, the Australian with Arnold Schwarzenegger. He was the bad guy in Mad Max 2. Mel Gibson, and we were able to get Vernon because of some connections that I had with another filmmaker that hooked that up. And again, like Mike said, it's just I think people realize what we're doing. We're just some guys having a great time doing what we're doing, and I think that maybe that energy kind of feeds some people, and it's like we don't necessarily have to ask. It seems like people always come to us with like, would this be cool? Would you want to use this? And I will say Tahoe Joe 2, we got a full-blooded timber wolf for that movie. So
Oh yes, I saw. I think it was. Did you post pictures?
uh-huh.
Yeah, I did remember seeing that, and I was like, that looks sick. Like they look
Yeah.
awesome. There was two, wasn't there?
Just the one.
Why did I thought I
No,
saw
just
two?
the
There was like a
one.
white and a gray one, or maybe
Well, if you mix them together, you might get black, and that's what color ours was.
I thought there was. I thought I saw a picture, something with like a white and a gray wolf. I'm like, I don't know. I have a lot of animals on my feed, but I definitely saw the one you posted.
Yeah, ours
But
was a black wolf named Thunder, and
that was in the snow
very
scene.
interesting. Very interesting to be on a. I mean, Mike probably knows too. That animal just has something about it that says that like I'm not a dog, and I will never be a domesticated dog. And like you might think you're in control, but I am actually in control. There's just something about it where I was like, he let you know that at any moment he could just decide to not play by the rules, and it keeps you on your toes. That's for sure.
That it just
Big.
sounds. Are they as massive as like? Because I know in pictures
Look
sometimes
huge.
pictures diminish how big they are, but are they as big in person?
He was big.
Yeah, he was big. He was a big boy. He was a good boy. He's a big boy.
Oh, he was really friendly though. He was letting us, after he kind of got used to everybody, he was letting us pet him and he's sniffing around and but he gave us a very deep growl at one point. Well, I think he was kind of mad at the trainer, and I heard it, and it was great because I had the camera rolling, so I was able to catch all that sound for the film. But I looked at Mike, with this look like, whoa, like I have never heard a wolf growl, and that is very different than a dog growl. Like, wow.
I'm trying to see. I guess it's not. You know what? We're gonna keep talking, but I want to show for the people listening what this wolf looks like. And I know why I thought he was white and gray now because that was his belly and his snout. But like he
Oh,
looks mean as hell. Like I can't wait to see his part in this because he looks super scary.
he's very sweet actually. He just he did what wolves do, and that was not necessarily want to play by the rules. So we had to just, I don't know. They always say don't work with kids and animals in movies because they're both going to be a headache. And we got what we could and just said, hey, you know what? For a couple of indie guys, we got a wolf, so we'll take what we can get.
Yeah. Hey, I mean, like I said, he looks badass. But what I also want to add that I haven't heard you guys mention yet, and I thought this was kind of big, was you guys got the popular cheerleaders from Scream. Did you? Did you not? Yes.
We did. They have a cameo in the movie. Lee and Nancy Ann. They were in the Woodman. That Brad, did you do stuff for the Woodman in post as well? Is that how you and Josh got linked up?
Yeah, I did. Yep.
Okay. So yeah, they were in that film. And I will say without too much that their characters in The Woodman and in Tahoe Joe 2 are actually the same set of characters. So there is a crossover there between the films. And they did a quick cameo for us. It was a remote deal. They weren't anywhere close to Reno, but they had been in Reno for a convention, and I went and met with them for a while, and they were just super interested in what we're doing, and they love Josh. They had such a good time on that show, and they were really interested in, well, they love Mike too. I will say they've seen the first movie. They didn't remember who the hell I was, but they definitely remembered Mike. So it was an easy sell. But no, it's a quick cameo, but it was really fun to have them be a part of it, and especially since they worked with Wes Craven, and to have conversations with two people that said, when we did this for Wes and all this, and then they're asking me for direction, and I'm just like, oh my God, I'm in the director role that Wes Craven played for them in Scream, and I just had it's a moment. It's like one of those things where I'm working with people that one of the biggest idols I've ever had, probably my biggest of the horror idols besides John Carpenter. I got to work with two people that worked with Wes, and it's just so amazing to me. Mike doesn't watch a lot of movies, so he's probably just like, it's just two people. It's cool. That's neat. But
I've seen Scream.
he has seen Scream. That's good.
That's good. That's a cult classic, so that's good.
And the thing about the thing about
definitely.
Sorry, go ahead.
What's that?
No, I was about to say the thing about Scream is has such a huge following because there's so many of them at the original. But that's really key. Like part of my job with you guys would be I can parlay that because of the fact that you have two people that were original in Scream. I can go wild on that with marketing. You know what I mean? I can get into the Scream fan pages, and there's just a huge following there you can tap right into.
Yeah,
that's what Mike and I were thinking too. We're like, hey, if a couple of small town guys like us get that opportunity, like we got to jump on this. And is that same thing when the opportunity to work with Vernon Wells came out. I'm just like, and we got to work with Vernon for a bit longer because he had a bigger scene, and I actually wrote like full scripted dialogue and stuff for him in that movie. But it was unbelievable to sit with this legend that's worked with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Bruce Willis and Mel Gibson, all these people, and have him go over the dialogue and say, I really like this, but would you mind if I change this a bit? Because that's not naturally how I would say things, whatever. And Mike and I got to watch him go. And watching his process was unbelievable. The guy could just cry on cue and do everything and then just stop and go right back to being himself. It was unreal to watch. And it was a totally different experience with the two gals from Scream because they were actually working a convention in Cincinnati. And so Lee and Nancy Ann had to run back to their hotel room so they could film real quick and then run back to their booth. And I just thought it was really cool that they took the time out of their super busy schedule to be a part of it. And, I asked for about 90 seconds of, can you guys give me some really good quality stuff for 90 seconds? And they send me 9 minutes of footage because they just wanted to make sure I had stuff to work with, and they send text messages all the time. How's the movie going? I love the trailer. So it's just cool. It's a big opportunity for us. And I'm super excited about maybe where the next road leads us.
Well, there you go again with your perfect segue, because the other question that I had is for each of you, if you could work with one, big name celebrity, whether it's a director, producer, actor, actress, you name it, who would it be? I'm going to kick it over to you, Dylan, to start, then Mike, then Brad.
You know what? I'd have to work with Steven Spielberg. I think if I could just shadow him on anything, I mean, I devour Spielberg. It doesn't have to be the spectacle movies that he does. I just watched The Fabelmans, which was like his kind of life story. And I watched the guy does his very first musical ever, and he does West Side Story, and it's like an Oscar winner, and it has some of the most incredible shots I've ever seen. And I think it would be Spielberg because the guy is such a master of lighting. I mean, when you watch a Spielberg movie, he uses light like so many people wish they could do. And I think that I would just, I wouldn't even have to work with him. I think if I could just shadow him for a while and pick up on what he does, that would be like my dream scenario. And if I could direct anybody, oh my gosh, probably, I think it'd be such a blast to work with, somebody kind of funny. Like I always thought it'd be hilarious to work with somebody like Jim Carrey or work with, but not in his funny role, like get to work with somebody who'd be that hilarious on set, but in like a more serious capacity, or Adam Sandler.
Kind of like Vince Vaughn. Like, have you ever seen Vince Vaughn in like a role and you're just like, I don't know how I feel about this because I'm so used to seeing him as like a funny guy.
I love Vince Vaughn. That'd be another one I think that'd be great to work with too.
Okay. Those are some solid picks, man. Those solid picks. So how about you, Mike?
If I could work with somebody, it would be, might sound kind of strange, but it's John Bernthal. he was Shane from The Walking Dead. He was on The Punisher,
Oh, I love that guy.
He is
on
kick
Who and
ass.
Fury. Yeah, yeah. So I've seen his podcast before. It's called Real Ones.
Mhm.
And the dude, he just, with me, if I'm working with you like on a movie or something, I want to work with people that I could actually really get along with in real life. I don't want it to be like pulling teeth and, have a prima donna or something like that. I want to work with somebody that I could actually hang out with and have a good conversation with, and who's just like super chill. Like I'm not very loud, and I don't consider myself outgoing or anything like that. So I think working with him would just be amazing. I think we'd have a good time and do something really cool, whether it be action or I don't know, whatever.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's a good pick. And I do have to comment on your voice. You have a very soothing radio voice. I have to say that.
Appreciate
I'm
it.
like,
Thank
you do. You have a very calm demeanor. I'm like, wow, like I could like listen to you on one of those, what are they, like the little calm episodes?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, very
yeah.
soothing. Very
I've heard
soothing.
that. I've
ASMR.
heard that. Yeah, yeah, I've heard that.
I think that the MR and ASMR is Michael Rock.
Michael
Oh
Rock.
yeah, just do a little bit of that, like whatever the I don't even know what they do. They do the little tapping on the microphone, a little crinkling of a wrapper, and then Mike's voice in the background. It'd be a hit. You'd be a hit.
Maybe
You'd
I'll
have
start
like
making movies and
1.2
I'll just
million
start recording other
followers.
stuff. Yeah. Start soothing everybody instead of making movies. Yeah.
Well,
Nah.
Mike had to have back surgery last year, and I needed a voice on the radio actually for a thing. So Mike does have a radio voice in a project that I did that'll be coming out. I don't know. I have no idea when that one comes out. We filmed it and we gave it away to the filmmaker that's kind of running the whole thing. It's an anthology deal, so I don't know when
Oh.
it comes out, but Mike does have his radio presence is in
You
that
gotta
one.
you gotta try Mike out with like the Mr. Movie Phone type thing. So like create like a really just like epic action-packed trailer and then just put like, Mike in the back and be like, one guy, one scene,
Mm.
I could hear it. I know a radio voice when I hear it, and I'm like, you got it, man. You got it. But yeah, so who's your pick, Brad?
I think I'm gonna say Spielberg too. Since Close Encounters of the Third Time, I go way back, like back into the '70s stuff he was doing in the '70s, was way ahead of his time. I'm not an actor, so as far as working with, but I can tell you a few that I really admire. Christian Bale is somebody he's just an amazing actor, and I mean he'll put on 40 or 50 pounds for a role. You know what I mean? And then take it back off. I mean, that's the kind of dedication that I really respect. And I'm a really big mafia movie guy. So like Robert De Niro, Joe Pesci, Ray Liotta from Goodfellas. Goodfellas is one of my favorite mafia movies ever. Anything
Do
from
I
the
entertain you?
Yeah, right. What am I here to? Funny how? Funny what?
Funny.
Yeah. Yeah, Joe Pesci's amazing. So I admire those actors a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I
but
got to show
Spielberg,
my wife Casino for the first time just a few nights ago.
another one. Yeah, another one. Great film.
Oh
Wait,
yeah,
I gotta ask,
she's
any
actually,
Soprano fans?
So
Sopranos, oh, for sure.
I wish I just haven't yet. I've seen some of it when I was, young, and I probably shouldn't have been watching it. But I had never sat down and watched it all the way through, and I just I got so busy that catching up on like a 10-season type show is very scary to me. But I need to.
Yeah, that's how I feel in the thick of Supernatural. I'm a huge Supernatural fan, and I'm watching it for the second time now, and I'm like, man, I forgot how long this show is. But yeah, that's a solid pick. That's a solid pick. So, we have some before we do, we call it our icebreaker remix. So instead of doing it at the beginning, we do it at the end. Before we do that fun little, wrap up activity, we had a couple of listener questions in the comments that I wanted to read and ask you guys. So we had a Ron Chibubu, love the name. Says
Ron.
Yeah, Ron Chibubu. I'm gonna say that all night now. How do y'all feel about the concept of interdimensionality regarding Bigfoot-like creatures?
Ron's always pushing for me. I know Ron. Here's the funny thing. not a funny thing, a very cool thing. Ron was an animator on an Academy Award winning cartoon from last year called The Fox and the Boy and the Horse and the something. I wish I could remember. Now I'm not doing it its justice, but Ron is literally an animator on an Academy Award winning movie. And I just want to throw that out there, Ron. I'm putting your business out there because I think it's so cool. But Ron's always pushing for the alien Bigfoot angle of maybe Bigfoot is like came through from a portal that aliens created, and that's why you don't see him, or maybe he's a protector. And I don't think that here's what I'll say, Ron. I don't believe it for a minute, but do I hope it's real? Yes. Just like I hope Bigfoot's real, I hope there's also aliens with them too.
Hey, there you go, Mr. Chibubu, which I love your name again. I'm gonna say it. So it's funny because I was actually going to ask you. So I make like a little list of questions and then I usually sprinkle them throughout to keep things kind of organic. And one of my questions was, after asking, do you believe in Bigfoot? I was going to ask if you thought that he was an alien because that's something that's come up a lot in the media and the press these days with all these sightings. People are now saying that he's an interdimensional creature. And they've also talked heavily, and this is kind of, I'm going to gear this towards Mike with his military background. They talked heavily about this connection between kind of missing 411 and the cave systems, and all of these people that are kind of going missing in these parks and all of this stuff. And they're saying that they think that a lot of these cryptids will hide in these cave systems. What's kind of your thought on that?
Cryptids hiding in cave systems.
Or cannibals. I don't really know that they kind of fit
Cannibals.
into the cryptid.
No, again, I don't really believe in all that.
Okay. Okay.
I think people going missing, if there's cave systems, it's people being dumb. It happens in Nevada all the time. All the
Yep.
old mines and stuff like that. People find an old mine. Hey, let's go explore. They fall down a shaft and that's it. They're gone.
Yeah.
So I'm chalking it up to that. So
Okay.
again, if there was cryptids and stuff like that, especially nowadays, I think they would have been found out unless it's something like deep in the Amazon rainforest, because they're always discovering stuff out there. But as
True.
far as like in the Pacific Northwest and Nevada and stuff like that, no, I don't really believe it.
Okay. Solid answer. Solid answer. So the next question comes in from an Adam Barger. I think I'm saying that right. He said, how do you guys feel about Tubi's monetization system? Do you think it treats creators fairly? And have you had a positive experience using it for your films?
So Tubi seems to be by far the best for indie creators. From all of the stuff I've read, all the other filmmakers I've talked to, and then our own experience, Tubi is the one that pays the most by far. They are by and large heads and tails above everybody else. There are some streamers out there that pay a fraction of a cent, per view, and then you've got places like Tubi where people are seeing like some significant money come in. So I think it's great. I think that they are paying much better than the rest, and that is like our big thing that we want to get all our films on is Tubi. We love and support all the other streamers that want to host us. We think that's amazing. But if we do want to see some money, we really feel like we either have to get behind a paywall on something like Vudu or Amazon where we're actually getting like rental fees for it, or it's got to be on Tubi where they actually pay out. Now, a lot of people get super excited. It's like, oh, I want to be on Amazon Prime, and it's like if you're not selling or renting your movie on Amazon, Prime itself is not paying you anything. It's great because everybody has Prime and it's a very easy thing to market. So it feels like the more, it's almost more for your ego to be like, yeah, it's streaming live or free on Prime. You're not making hardly anything. Tubi, on the other hand, it's paying really well, and they've got like 70 million subscribers. I mean, it's a massive, massive window. And I think that it's still pretty fair to the small indie guys like us for getting on there. They're kind of tightening things a bit, and there's a little bit of worry that it might be harder and harder to get stuff on there. But I do think that Tubi's still going to take a lot of really small indie stuff. It's just they want it to be quality. They don't necessarily want to take every indie thing that's pure schlock, or people making stuff is just a joke because they have a camera and then they think that Tubi will take it. And I think they're trying to get a little more refined with what they're taking, which is fine. Personally, if my stuff's going to be playing on there, I would like it to be mixed in with other filmmakers who are trying to take this stuff serious and not necessarily just thrown on a service that has pure schlock that people made that they don't really care about either. And there's stuff out there like that. There are people that have said, I've seen it publicly, like, oh, I made this movie as a joke. I can't believe Tubi picked it up. And it's like, what's the point of that?
It's a bad attitude.
Yeah, right. And so yes, to answer your question, I think Tubi's great. I will constantly, kind of sing praises to what they're doing, and until it's not anymore. The minute that they do something that affects us small guys, then I'll be the first to let the world know too.
Yeah, but I mean, for now, we'll get a round of applause for Tubi, man, because
Yes,
it's important that we recognize these up and coming filmmakers. It's super important to support you guys. So awesome.
Let me
And
just say one more thing on Tubi.
yeah,
One of the things I also like about Tubi is they're really good at mixing up the placements of where the cover art is. Sometimes our film, The House in Between, they'll put us right on their first page, on the front page of their documentary section. But then I can check for a couple days later, and then we're not even on the front page at all. So they moved other films on there to give them some time. So I noticed that they're very good about giving some equal time to some of the other films, because it's important to work. It's really important where they're showing your cover art. Placement's really important.
yeah,
yeah.
and especially there's a lot of
that.
favorite. Go ahead, sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say, we noticed that a lot. We'll get on Tubi, and sometimes I don't see any of our movies in the carousel. But then, like you said, Brad, I could get on a few days later, and I'm like, oh, cool, there's The Flock and Ghost, like right there.
Yeah.
4 or 5 films deep into the horror section, and so it is good. It's cool to see that stuff moves around, and yeah, Tubi all the way.
Yep.
Sweet.
I'm
All right, so you guys hear it. So Tubi is the way to go. And I think this is our last question. I'll have to update our comments, but it says another one from Adam Barger. Tahoe Joe doesn't seem to have a credited writer on IMDb. Who is primarily responsible for writing? What is their creative process like from the initial concept to what makes it onto the actual screen? Do you guys storyboard, etc.?
Well, there's no credited writer because we didn't write anything. It was a story that I had. So I probably wrote down a little bit of a story at one point. I brought Mike in and figured, okay, well, my story is probably a little bigger than we can afford, so we'll figure out what we can do. And I think we covered a lot of that stuff when we were talking about how we do things when we work together. But yeah, there's no credited writer because we didn't really know where the film was going to take us. We just set out to start going, and Mike and I let real events sort of dictate what happened. Mike was actually on work in Dallas, Texas, so we had him shoot from Dallas, and we put that in the movie. We had another thing where his cousin, who plays the missing guy in the first movie, was able to fly out. So we just centered the movie around that time he could fly out here, and we brought in his real airport footage and stuff. So there was really no way we could write it. We just had to let the movie write itself, really.
Okay.
And as far as
Yeah.
storyboarding, not really. Mentally, yeah, or we'll have some. Just Mike and I have couch discussions all the time. I got a couch in my garage where I do a lot of my editing, and we'll just sit and talk about what a cool shot would be. Hey, it'd be really cool if we did this and this, and then we just go do it. Again, I think it's because we work so fast and we sort of have to out of necessity. With family life and kid and work, we don't have the time to sit around too long and let these things marinate. So we just do. Instead of planning, we just do, and I think we just make it work. I don't know. It's this weird thing, and I think a lot of filmmakers, anybody watching it, has a traditional way of doing it. It's probably cringing right now, but hey, for us, it works. So
Some people get scared, like when they come work with us in our movies and stuff, because they know that's how we do it. Like we'll have like nuts and bolts, like things that need to get brought up in order to fit in a story, but then everything else is just like improv. So that could be kind of intimidating to some people who don't have a lot of experience doing improv work.
Yeah.
But like Dylan and I, we know each other so well, and we talk about stuff so much that we'll just go out there. We know what needs to get brought up, and so we'll just start talking,
Yeah.
and we'll completely become immersed in those characters, and whatever we say is just it's pretty natural flowing, So yeah, so we don't actually write anything.
But I think that's a true. Go
You
ahead.
guys like perfected freestyle. It's only it's not freestyle rapping, it's freestyle acting almost. It's like
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
You guys are the Eminem of the film industry.
that's right.
I can dig it.
I
I
spit
can dig
hot
it.
fire when I act.
You need to make that into a t-shirt, please. You need to. No, but seriously, I think that it speaks to a true testament that, it's kind of cliche, but you hear the saying, find your tribe and love them hard, right? And I think that when it comes to film, like I've spoken before, chemistry is major. And you said trust. Trust is a big, big thing. When you find your tribe, you tend to attract other people who have that very similar vibe about them. And then when you bring that, that magnetic energy kind of comes out and it pulls in and it brings you the right people to make your film absolute magic. So keep up, that amazing work. Keep doing what you're doing because clearly it's succeeding. People love your films. You're doing a kick-ass job. And what works. If it's not broke, don't try and fix it, right? So this is kind of my like I said, we do the icebreaker remix. So instead of an icebreaker, we're going to give you guys kind of our little exit questionnaire. So we like to do kiss kill marry cryptid edition.
Oh, hell yeah.
Right.
So today's contenders are going to be the chupacabra, which I changed that last minute when you brought it up because I was like, actually, that sounds a lot better for a kiss kill marry. Oh my goodness. And then we're gonna have a skinwalker and Bigfoot. Or maybe we'll call him Tahoe Joe. But we're gonna start with you, Dylan. So who are you going to kiss, kill, marry?
All right. I'm going to are you good, buddy? Sorry, I got children, so
No, you're good.
Are you okay? Sorry.
No, you're fine.
Yeah, I'll be there, buddy. This is the horror dads thing.
Now listen, I got a 3-year-old. You're totally fine.
So I would kiss the skinwalker because they could look like anybody I want, so maybe like Dua Lipa or something. I will marry the Tahoe Joe because I have a deep connection with him, and then I can make sure he's in all my movies. And then I'll kill the chupacabra because I married a Latina, and I know that they're terrified of the chupacabra legend. So I'll just make her whole family happy that I went and killed the chupacabra.
The chupacabra slayer. I love it. I love
Done.
it.
Out.
All right. Solid choice. Solid choice. Now, Mike, let's hear what you got to say.
All right. So kiss. Well, I too am with a Latina.
Okay.
So I will kiss the chupacabra because the chupacabra is a spicy Latina, and so that's kind of my jam.
This is a remix. This is a plot twist.
Yeah. Yeah, a skinwalker. I will kill the skinwalker just because I hate fake bitches.
That needs to be another t-shirt quote. Okay. Okay.
And I will marry the Bigfoot because I want somebody that could cuddle me.
That's what I was gonna say. Nice, furry, solid little hunk of meat that could give you nice winter cuddles.
Yep. So when I'm done having fun with the Latina, I'm gonna come home and get cuddled by Bigfoot.
There you go. All right, Brad. What's it gonna be?
I guess I'll probably marry Bigfoot.
Okay.
I'm gonna kill the chupacabra because it's an ugly looking effer. It always looks pissed off and mean and like wants to kill other people.
Like suck your face off.
Yeah, you know, so I'll probably kill that. And probably marry Skinwalker, right? Because I want to believe in aliens so bad, and like UFOs and know what's out there and learn about extraterrestrial stuff, man. So
You could have a new wife every day too.
yeah, true. True.
One day it's Dua Lipa, next day it's Jessica Alba, you know?
There you go.
Mike, we have to make a shirt that says "Skinwalkers are fake bitches."
I'm telling you need to. You guys, I'm telling you, by the end of this show, you're gonna have a whole merchandise line, okay?
A whole bunch.
A whole bunch. That was the best line. We're gonna make a short of that. We're literally gonna make a short of that, make it go viral on TikTok.
There you go.
I love it. But yeah, so I loved those answers and I had so much fun with you guys. I don't care how many movies you make, you guys are always welcome on the Ghoulfriend Hour. We will promote every single one that you come out with. So you got a new one, you just say, hey, Morgan, we got something new out. I'm your girl. I got you. You know, me and Brad will market the shit out of you and get you guys out there. Cause I mean, not like you're going to need much help because you guys are on fire already, but anytime you're welcome here.
We would love to come back. This was probably one of my favorite podcasts I've ever been on. It was just so much fun. And so we thank you guys so much for setting this up for us. So
yeah. And next time you guys come on, hopefully my other host will be on. One's a mom, other one is in school currently and doing a lot of other stuff. So it's kind of hard to line up schedules, but you got to meet the other girlies because they're just as crazy as I am. So it'll be a great time. But as we close up, we have a little saying that we say every single time. We say, let's get weird. So until next time, everybody, on the count of 3, let's get weird.
Oh, I was way too fast.
Honestly, we laugh because we never get it. We've been doing this since June, and me and my co-hosts are like, we've just accepted that it'll never be perfect, and fine. It's fine. But thank you guys so much again for being on. That concludes the end of our podcast. So thanks for joining us, and until next time, we will see you soon.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Thank
Thanks.
you.
Appreciate it.
All right. That was an awesome episode. I can't wait. I think people are going to love hearing this on Spotify and YouTube. I'm so excited for this new movie to come out and I can't wait to get my hands on it. So keep up the great work and definitely keep me posted. Let me know.
You asked great questions.
Yeah, thanks. I loved every moment. I thought it was really fun. And, you know, sometimes you have guests that might be a little bit shy, but it was great, you know, that you guys were the chemistry. We'll go back to the chemistry. You guys have great chemistry, great talking. So yeah, seriously, anytime you guys want to come on, you just give me a shout and
awesome.
And they're like swimwear, my friends.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I would love it.
Yeah. We've been on some podcasts that are just, my God, man.
I like to keep it organic.
Terrible.
I don't.
We're not live anymore, right?
No.
So Mike and I were on one with all the horror dads, and we thought we were